You are listening to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast presented by Realm of the Mist Entertainment with your host, John Tolley.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and joining me, as always, is my co-host for tonight, Mr. the Chronicler.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, how you doing today, Ray?
I'm doing very, very well. I'm excited to wrap up our conversation on Anakin Skywalker.
Yes, that's right. And also joining us, because every good franchise needs its Trinity. I mean, Star Trek has Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Star Wars, of course, has Luke, Han, and Leia. And we now have Joe. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
All right. Joe will be our second co-host here on War of the Stars. He just joined up at Realm of the Mist, where you can hear, of course, all our great shows here on Realm of the Mist, including this one and just a bunch of others. That's what you call a smooth transition. How do you like that, huh? Smooth as peanut butter.
Smooth.
All right. Well, we are a little scrunched on time today, so we're just going to get right into it and continue on with our discussion on Anakin Skywalker. And this week we're going to be talking of the rise and fall of Darth Vader. And so, first question,
My man.
We kind of talked about this last time, and I kind of got your thoughts. I think I kind of got your thoughts on. Joe, do you consider Anakin and Vader to be two different people?
Oh, no. He's the man.
Yeah. I mean,
Dude.
Is Vader... Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking two different guys. You know, fall to the dark side, you become somebody completely different.
Yeah.
No, it was all in Anakin to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, he was supposed to, how do they put it, balance the Force. Well, that means it's not balanced in him. It's one or the other. Him finding that middle ground is a little hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this brings up another question we can talk about, was his fall inevitable? Was it one of those things that from the moment he was born, was he destined to fall? Or was he the product of his environment, or was it just something that the Force had destined that he would become this?
Wow, that's deep. I am going to say he was destined to fall. Because I think it had to swing back the other direction before it could come into balance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
Jedi were in charge. They were the strong, powerful side of it. The Sith come back, swings it to the dark side. Now I think what we're going to see in The Rise of Skywalker is we're going to swing back to the center.
Yeah. And one thing we talked about this, we kind of hint on this last time we did one of these, the episode on I Can Talk, was this whole idea of balance being a literal interpretation of the term balance, where instead of having thousands of Jedi and two Sith, you now had two Sith and basically two Jedi, and that there was now once again balance, you know, in a literal term of balance in the Force. And you know, what do you think of that whole concept of him literally bringing balance?
Well, yeah, guess I hadn't really thought of it like that, but you're right. thousands of Jedi versus two to two Jedi versus versus two.
Mm-hmm.
Literally balanced it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we lost Rey.
Ooh. No, I still show him as part of the call.
Yep. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Just
it was showing you as muted there for a second.
Yeah. I was on mute. I had some traffic going by, so I didn't want to interrupt and I wanted to hear Joe's point of view on all this since we touched on it the last time.
Yeah. The one thing I was thinking about this when it comes to Vader is when you look at his fall and I'm reminded of, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
No, I can't say I've seen that one.
Okay. There's a line where at the beginning Joker finds out who Batman is. And he does the line of, and I'm paraphrasing that, who'd have thought behind all the batarangs and the mask was just a poor little boy crying for mommy and daddy. And you could almost put that with Vader. That behind the mask, behind the bravado and this badassery is just a poor little boy crying for his mommy and his wife. And in many ways, Vader is a very pitiable and almost pathetic character. Everything he puts on is a front.
Yeah, I mean,
to hide his true feelings, and he is, as awesome as he is in many ways a very pathetic character, and it's that thing that the Emperor preys on.
Well, yeah, and I always look at it as he became much more likable when he became Vader. As bad as that sounds, it became a much more enjoyable character.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, not that I didn't mind Anakin, and it's interesting because I saw an interview with Kevin Smith, and I think this was right after episode 2 and going into episode 3, and they're talking about, the idea of Anakin that time being a whiny teenager, and he said, yes, of course, the whiny teenager becomes the most evil, sadistic monster in the world. Yeah, of course. But, I don't know where I was going with that.
I was like,
we got lost as sadistic villain.
Yeah. But I mean, that brings up another question: was Vader evil?
I don't think he was necessarily evil. I think he was just following orders, but got caught up with the wrong crowd, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we can justifiably say the Emperor was evil.
Oh, yeah.
I think with Vader did evil things, but he was either able to justify it in his mind somehow,
That's
or
fair.
B, he thought, well, there's no other way.
Yeah.
And I think the line that really gets it for me, that Vader knew what he was doing and knew what he was doing was wrong, but he didn't think he had any other way. It's that line in Jedi right when Luke allowed himself to be captured, and Luke's trying to turn his father and says, there's still good in you. I can feel it. And he says the line, "It is too late for me, my son."
Yeah.
Vader thought, yes, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but it's too late. I can't go back.
Well, it was also, you got to think Vader was also from a different, well, not necessarily, but like a different thought process where it was always hammered into their heads that once you started down the path of the dark side, there was no coming back. Yeah,
I mean, even Yoda said it. Forever will it dominate your destiny.
Right. So that's probably why he meant it that way, and then in the end realized that wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. But, and so, well, let's just get this, just to get this point. What do you guys think when you hear Vader? I mean, what is the first image that pops in your mind?
Lawful evil.
That's so true, though. It's so true.
Yeah.
And he swung from chaotic good.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, because within the Jedi Order, I mean, he only followed the rules because he kind of had to, but once the Clone Wars started, he just kind of played by his own rules, really. And we touched on that when we talked about the Clone Wars.
Well, I look at it the how he grew up was pure chaotic. No idea what's going to happen from day to day. Slave, driver, whatever he's going to be the next day. Then he joins the Jedi, and while they're an organization, I've never really looked at them as being lawful because they can break their own rules if they feel like it.
True.
Yeah.
And it's a council. It's not just a ruler. So that's always done on who votes which way. Okay, the majority rules. So still reasonably chaotic because you never know how it's going to go. And then here comes Palpatine offering what this kid's needed, pure structure. You are going to follow my law and my word.
Order.
And, Anakin just totally drawn to that immediately.
A new order, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
A new order following me.
Yeah. I mean, even up to the end, before he actually became Vader, he was still only really following Palpatine because he wanted to save Padme.
Yeah.
So he was doing what he thought he had to do in order to save her. So his intentions were good. It just didn't quite work out that way.
I think with a lot of what Vader did, even after he became Vader, he had good intentions. Or at least he was able to, like I said, justify some of the horrible things of it being for the greater good.
Right.
Even to the point of killing younglings. He was able to justify that in his mind of they would be killed anyway. It might as well be done now. They just get indoctrinated and they be taught all these lies. Right. So, he was able to justify it.
Well, I saw a thing on Facebook just yesterday, I think it was, might have been the day before, that now I can't get out of my head. And when you say, what does the first thing that come to mind when you hear Vader? Like, now all I can think of is this, but they basically were kind of breaking it down, saying that Vader was like the biggest drama king ever to have existed. And they gave a couple of
until his grandson.
Well, they went beyond that and said it's just in the Skywalker gene.
Yes,
because they also bring up Leia.
Whiny. Well, they're all whiny. All Skywalker men are whiny. Need I remind you of Tashi State, the whole Tashi Station?
Oh yeah,
but Uncle Owen,
I want to go to Tashi Station.
Pick up some power converters.
So,
like, the first thing that they kind of talk about is how.
Hold on. And going back to that, though, his uncle knew exactly, though. He's like, you can play with your friends later. He's like, you don't want to just pick up power converters. You just want to hang out with your friends. Right. Uncle Owen was on him like, yeah, kids, sure, power converters, yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the first thing that they kind of talk about is how he turns off the lights on his chest panel so that, when he ignites his lightsaber in the darkness, it's so dramatic, and he's trying to scare the crap out of the rebels, and like that was his life support. So this guy turned off his life support for the sheer intention of being over dramatic. You know? And
Hey,
like
he didn't turn it off. He just turned on quiet mode.
Right. Incognito.
Silencer.
But, you know,
vibrate mode.
They go on to talk about a few other things, but like one of them that got brought up just had me rolling. But they were talking about how the exact wording is, the man flew into an underground temple standing on top of a TIE fighter he was flying with the Force, while he also made his cape billow dramatically in a non-existent wind. There is nothing Vader will not do for drama. And now that's all I can imagine.
Oh. Yeah, and I know exactly the scene they're talking about. Yes, in Rebels. End of season 2, I believe. Yes. Wow.
But it just, there was a whole thread about it, and they broke it down talking about how Luke did it, and Leia did it, and how Leia always wants people to come rescue her every time, and just, it was cracking me up.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, Vader, I know people made the joke about in Rogue One of Vader cracking the dad joke of, I try not to choke on your inspirations, director. And I remember people were like, oh, Vader's got dad jokes. I'm like, yes, Vader has dad jokes. Have you not watched the movies? Vader is full of dad jokes. Need I remind you of apology accepted, Captain Nita?
Right.
Vader is...
I feel like we just need like a whole skit of Vader giving dad jokes.
Oh, that would be great. That would be very great. Yes.
That sounds like a project for you, Ray. Go get him, Ray.
Right.
Wow. So here's the question. Here's another question for you guys. When in your estimation do you think he became Vader? Like was it in the March on the Temple, or when he was fighting Obi-Wan, or was it not until he was actually in the suit? I mean, when in his mind did he fully embrace and say, okay, I am Vader. Anakin is essentially dead. This is who I am.
I am going to actually go further back to his discussion with Palpatine about saving Padme. And as soon as Palpatine tells him, you know, is this the power I can learn? And he says, not from a Jedi.
Right.
Right then, I got the feeling his decision was made. I'm going to save Padme. I follow this guy now.
Yeah.
That's very true, yeah. But, I would almost go even farther back than that. When he decided to listen to Palpatine and decapitate Dooku, I think that's when his first moments of, well,
that felt pretty good.
Yeah, like I shouldn't have done that, but it's justified, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, here comes that lawful evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, and you could even go even further back than that for if you want to talk about his first steps, his first kind of inkling into the dark side, when he slaughtered the Sand People.
Yeah,
that was like his first little step, and it was a huge step. I mean, it was just like, here, let me just jump right deep into the deep end and jump out real quick. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, but my only qualm with that is that he was so distraught afterwards, and you know.
Yeah. But it still was a step. It still was a step. It still was like.
Well, yes, I definitely agree to that. Know. Yeah, because it was a bit overboard for the crime, but you know, grief does weird things to people. So
yeah.
But I do agree that was probably his first kind of movement towards the dark side.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think, you know, we going back to, you know, the dark side dominating your destiny. And I think Vader proved this true, that yes, you can still get out of it. You can still return to the light. And we see this in both the EU and even within Luke in the old legends, and even now, of once you have, even for a little bit, you have that dark side taint on you, it sticks with you. That's always going to be there, even if you've completely rejected and gone back to the light. That darkness is still going to linger on you somehow, some way, whether it be people not trusting you, or just a darkness or a heaviness about you.
Yeah, I could see that.
I can see that.
It's always going to be with you, no matter what. So,
because you got to think, I mean, he did, we're talking about balance and things like that. He did so many atrocities that I don't think that just because even killing the Emperor wasn't wholly for the light side. It was, I mean, he was trying to save his son, which it's kind of selfish in and of itself.
Yeah.
But, I don't know as that one act of good would outweigh all the bad that he did.
Well, I mean, and this is a theory that I'd heard before, that Vader never really fully turned back to the light.
Yeah, I could see that.
That, like you said, the only he saved his son. We know because, of course, he turned into a Force ghost and was welcomed back in. So we know that as far as George was concerned, he did turn back to the light.
True.
But, like you said, was that one piece of atonement, was that enough, to turn him back? Or was it, in doing that, was it a complete 180 in his mind and heart that, I'm sorry for everything that I've done. Mm-hmm. And then the Force basically made the decision of, all right, you did enough.
Well, that part I always kind of wondered about too. I mean, they show it as that the Jedi are able to become Force ghosts. But who really is to say that that's just a light side exclusive thing? I mean, it's possible that anybody could do it as long as you are Force sensitive. So he might have been able to do it.
Well, actually, they've talked about that in the Clone Wars. One of the last seasons of the Clone Wars, about how only light-siders are able to obtain this power. You have to be very strong. You have to be very strong in the Force, and that it is something that Darksiders, or especially and particularly Sith, cannot do, because you have to basically purge yourself of any dark feeling or dark emotions.
Okay, well, that's fair.
In order to do this, yeah.
I think what you're going to find is Plagueis's power was similar to that.
Yeah, like a
but
dark
instead
side
of
version
becoming
of
a Force ghost, you're able to stay in your body no matter how corrupt it's become.
Yeah, we've seen that with the Sith before. We've seen them able to basically put their essence in either objects, like if you're familiar with the Old Republic games, Darth Nihilus, or stuff like something like that. So you're able to continue on living, even though your body and your spirit, your physical form may be gone. You can possess an object like a cloak or a sword, like a lightsaber or something like that, or a piece of armor. A temple, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I think it's the same thing. It's just from opposite spectrums.
Yeah.
You don't need the physical to bring yourself out as a Jedi. Whereas the Sith have the limitation of you have to be able to embed yourself into something.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but didn't the Night Sisters / Witches of Dathomir, didn't they have a form of quote unquote Force ghosts?
Kind of, but again,
that they
were tethered. Again, if I remember correctly, they were tethered.
Okay.
To something or some place, so that they couldn't, whereas a force ghost can show up anywhere. I think with the Sith quote unquote force ghost or force spirit, they are tethered to, wherever, like whatever temple they were killed in, or wherever they died, almost like a ghost, like a literal, like, people think with little ghosts now where they're tethered to the house or whatever.
Right.
I think that's kind of what it was with the Sith, is they're tethered to that.
Well, there was a Sith Master, and of course this is EU stuff, but there was a Sith Master that was... Didn't he start off as just like an archaeologist, and by heading to a planet and being trained by the spirit of a former Sith Master? Man, I can't remember now. I'll look it up for the next show. What's that?
Are you talking Exar Kun?
Possibly.
Because that sounds like an Exar Kun thing, but I could be wrong. But yeah, well, we can talk about. Hey, there's a good topic for our next week's discussion is the Sith.
Yeah.
We can discuss the Sith, and yeah. But anyway, going back to Darth Vader. I mean, what is it about? Because you go through any movie list of greatest villains of all time, and near the top, or even sometimes at the top, inevitably is Vader. I mean, you look at any top 10 movie villains, movie bad guys, Vader's going to be top 2, top 3 almost every time. What is it about that character that makes him so popular of a villain? Is it just the imagery?
I think a lot of it is just he's so matter of fact about everything he does.
Yeah.
You don't really. I know, we've been discussing evil, but do you really get that feeling, or it just needs to be done?
No. Well, and really, and we've talked, and we've in previous shows before, we've talked about this before, the fact that he was really only the main villain in one movie, that being Empire. He wasn't the main villain in A New Hope. That would have been Tarkin. And in Jedi, the main villain was, of course, the Emperor. Mm-hmm. So he always was the heavy, with the exception of Empire Strikes Back. He was always the muscle. He was always the heavy. He was always, like I said, he was the muscle. So, but he had such an imposing figure that the first time you see him on screen, you're just like, oh. And you knew immediately, one, this is a bad dude. This is a guy you don't mess with. Right. And, you hear the James Earl Jones voice, and, just this massive mountain of a man coming towards you, and you're just like, it's scary, especially if you're a kid. And it's also kind of cool. You think back at your favorite scenes in the Star Wars movie, and any of them, with the exception, of course, maybe the sequels, because Vader's not really in them. But I can almost guarantee you, if you're to name your top 3 favorite scenes, they all would have Vader in them.
True.
I mean, even if he wasn't wearing the mask, like for me, my 3 favorite scenes in the Star Wars movie, in order of least to first, would be on the Death Star, the second Death Star, after Luke has chopped off Vader's arm, and the Emperor's wanting him to join, and he gives the line of, "I am a Jedi like my father before me." Vader was there. Second one would be the march on the Jedi Temple during Order 66, and third would of course be the hallway scene in Rogue One. That's my favorite Vader scene of all time.
Yeah,
but
you finally got to see Vader.
What's that?
That was really, to me, the first full-on, this is what a Sith Lord can do.
Yes. Oh, that was just... Yeah, that was... Yeah. And the look of utter terror in their face as Vader goes down the hallway was just pure. And was it wrong that I was giggling and laughing and smiling the whole time as he was slaughtering the rebels?
Yeah, clapping. Yeah, go
Is
do
that, like,
I think everybody cheered when that happened. Everybody was like, "Yeah, it's Vader!
Kill those damn rebels!"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We're bad.
I mean, and the comics really go into more, some of the Vader comics, and which I haven't got to read all of them yet, but what I've been able to see, really go into the Vader psyche and, his thought process and just how badass he could be. I mean, there's one instance where he's the rebels have him surrounded, and they say, "We have you surrounded," and he gives the line, "All I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men." Yes. And he's outnumbered like 50-1, and he just says, "Yeah, no, I'm not surrounded. You're surrounded. You're just
not really bothered by this, folks."
No. And yeah, I mean, his whole disdain for anyone. I mean, it's an old comic, but I think it really gets to the heart of Vader. It's no longer canon, but there was one where he was sent to a planet to look for something, and he ran into. This is before they officially brought Maul back, and it was like a Force ghost or Force vision or something of Maul had come back, and they were fighting. And to finally defeat him, Vader stabs himself through the stomach to kill Maul. And
drama.
Yeah, exactly. And Maul asked the question as he's dying. He said, "What can you hate that much to give you this power?" And Vader says, "Myself."
Oh.
Vader hates himself. There's 2 people Vader hates, I think, more than anything: himself and Palpatine.
Wow.
I think Vader despises Palpatine, but he thinks he's stuck with him.
Right.
He thinks that he has no choice. He has to do this, and because Palpatine is the only after he lost Obi-Wan, and we talked about this last week, that Obi-Wan was never that father figure. Obi-Wan was always the brother. Palpatine came in as the father figure, and it was with someone who never had a father. Even if you hate that father, if a father figure comes in, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that father figure doesn't leave.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And for a little rebel like Anakin was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, like you said, Palpatine brought some form of structure, and you have that fear of, and this is what a lot of people in those type of relationships that are, these kind of toxic relationships, these kind of, even abusive relationships, that they stay in because they can, the other person can give the argument, where would you be without me? And I'm sure that was going through. I'm sure there's two things that Palpatine always had over him. One is, you're replaceable. I can drop you like a hat, find someone more powerful, kill you, and I'll still be here.
Right.
And the second is, he could have had is, where would you go without me? What would you be without me? You'd be nothing. I made you. I created who you are right now. So just be a good little Sith toy and go kill some rebels.
Which he had shown that in other, like look in the case of Dooku, he kind of said, "Oh look, a new younger apprentice."
Which, I mean, that's the Sith way.
Right.
That's, the Sith are always, the apprentice is always, the master is always looking for the stronger apprentice. And, the whole idea is, and we can go over this when we talk about our Sith, of the rule of two and how that kind of always helps makes the Sith more powerful, because the more powerful apprentice will always supplant the master, thus meaning that the Sith will always rise in power.
Right. Just that was kind of their way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very Greek, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But
so.
Well, I thought about it for a little bit, and
Okay.
I came up with a question for today's episode that I would like to ask both of you. Kind of a Joe. What I started doing is towards the end of the show, I like to throw out just this kind of hypothetical question that could spin the series in a completely different direction and kind of get everybody's point of view on it. And I also wanted to put it out there for any listeners that they could answer as well via one of our social media avenues. But the question that I had thought of today is kind of simple, but I think it could throw the whole thing out of whack. So my question is, Obi-Wan faces off against Darth Maul, is able to take him out, and is able to actually save Qui-Gon Jinn. And now Qui-Gon is able to train Anakin. How do you think that would change the outcome?
I think it would change it dramatically, because, like I said before, with Qui-Gon, you'd have much more of a father figure and someone who would be, while being much more strict with Anakin, would also understand of giving him respect and understanding that, these aggressive tendencies, while they can lead to the dark side, they can also be honed and used for good. Mm-hmm. And he would be able to take some of these feelings that he had and turn them around and hone them towards something good. And I think he would be able to tell right away that there's something going on with him and Padme, and would be able to, figure something out with that, and either turn that ship around or, I think it would be a completely different different outcome for Anakin if Qui-Gon had lived.
Okay.
But then again, I could be wrong. As we said before, it could have always been his destiny. And
to go that way.
And one of those things that no matter what you do, no matter how you change, Vader will always rise. Right. Somehow, some way. But I'm interested to hear what you have to think, Joe.
I think it would have changed things dramatically, but I think more of he's not going to become Vader, but he's not going to stay Anakin either. I almost see him more gray Jedi. Having been, if he was fully trained by Qui-Gon, because that's kind of how I picture Qui-Gon.
Yeah, hey, be careful. That can start fights on the internet.
Excellent.
That's what we're here for, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Because I always picture Qui-Gon as kind of a gray Jedi. Didn't always listen to the council. They kind of get into that a little bit with Yoda and him.
Yeah,
you listened to my training, you did not. So I could see, and I also see Qui-Gon being, like you said, the ends justify the means. If I have to use a little dark side here, okay.
Yeah.
Because the means, I'm using it for good.
Yeah.
And I always thought that would be what a gray Jedi does. He basically could justify using any of the Force, as long as it's good, for their means.
Yeah.
And I could see Vader of actually becoming very entrenched in that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he would basically become almost like what Luke had become.
Yeah, I could see that, actually, yeah.
Luke was very much, hey, if I have to use a little Force choke here and there to get through some, to save my friend, I'll use a little Force choke here or there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and, I'm the almighty, great, and good Jedi. They had their definite gray moments.
Oh,
anytime we worked on the weak-minded to say something or do something else. You're using the Force to bend somebody to your will.
Yeah. Well, and you can even make that argument of all the stuff they did during the Clone Wars.
Right, yeah.
They weren't soldiers. They were guardians and keepers of the peace, so to speak, but they weren't, for a Jedi initially, violence was always to be a matter of last resort. And then suddenly they're put in a position where violence is the issue of everything. You're a soldier now. Violence is what you do. So even then they had to kind of compromise their beliefs and we talked about this yesterday about the hypocrisy of Anakin, of looking at what they had done and, thinking that they were hypocritical for, they wouldn't let me on the council. They say they're peacekeepers, but they're out there fighting wars. Well, you got married, which was basically one of the top tenets and top things you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
A little hypocritical there. Little bit.
Oh, yeah. Anakin was a complete hypocrite.
Oh, well, and...
we're hunting the Sith. Oh, yeah, that's the Emperor, or that's the, Senator Palpatine, but I'm not going to tell you guys.
Yeah. But, and this is something I wanted to ask you guys about, was Padme enabling him? Was Padme an enabler as far as... Because Padme could have... The minute she saw that there were these feelings by Anakin and that he wanted to take this friendship and this relationship to a whole other level,
Yeah, I kind of think she was.
She was risking as much, She could have easily have said, like, look, kid, you're nice, you're sweet, you're good looking, but you do this, you're a kid, And two is this could potentially ruin both our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Really even if you think about it, hers more than his, because he would have just been kicked out of the order and he could have just been like, all right, I'll just move in with Padme. But Padme could have lost her career.
Right.
Well,
she also, throughout the Clone Wars, we see that every time Anakin does something a little bit questionable, she kind of almost brushes it off or justifies it in her own way. So yeah, I think she definitely was enabling him.
Oh yeah, she always. I mean, even the slaughter of the Sand People.
Right.
Instead of being a normal person would have been like, "Okay, dude, you need help."
Yeah, women and children. Whoa,
serious help.
Right.
But she was like, "Well, I understand you were angry, and these are the feelings that a normal person would feel. Like, yeah, a normal person wouldn't slaughter an entire village,
right?
Yeah, see, we call those mass shootings in now.
Yeah,
exactly. That's about the equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah, she was pure enabler, and I'm sorry, but in episode 2, the whole "let's go home and I'm going to make you fall in love with me even more because I'm going to act stupid like I don't realize this is what's happening, but dress up and fall in front of you and need your help and totally seduce you, totally unused to women kid."
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I see the whole time they're hiding out on Naboo.
Oh. I'm just picturing the I don't know if either one of you have seen the how it should have ended for the Clone Wars. And
No.
there's one episode, it's episode 2, where they're having the dinner and he's cutting he's using the Force to cut the piece of fruit and is like, just completely just going hard flirt with her. And the whole time she's reaching under the table, pressing the panic button.
Yeah, it's losing it. Now that's good.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
I'm gonna have to go back and find that now. Thanks.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. The how it should have ended. But anyway, I think we will wrap things up here tonight. Kind of a shorter episode, and
well, I have one thing I want to throw out there. I kind of threw it at Ray the other day, and I want you thinking about it before the next episode, Mark. Kerry Russell's new character. How do you think she's going to fit in The Last Jedi? I already threw Ray my theory, and it about blew his mind.
I'm trying to figure out who she is.
She, from what I've seen of the scenes and the trailers, she's kind of a dark Jedi.
Okay.
Possibly even a Sith. I just going to throw this out there and leave it for you for next week is I'm thinking Emperor's Hand with that red hair.
Oh. You think it could be... Oh.
And that would sure explain where Rey comes from, wouldn't it?
And with that, we'll wrap the episode.
All right. Yes. Of course, you can find this and all the other episodes here on Realm of the Mist on Anchor.fm. Anchor is, of course, your one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs, and also helps you if you are interested in making a podcast of your own. It helps you do that with recording tools and editing tools at your disposal, so you can do what we do right here every week. You can also find us on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, not Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are heard. Leave us a like on YouTube, like and subscribe us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, we have the t-shirts. We have a official War of the Stars t-shirt, which you can't see, but I am wearing right now. You can go to the website, the Realm of the Mist website, which will be linked in the description below, and check it out there for prices, and they are made to order. So just also, if you want to support us otherwise, you can give us money through Patreon. We would greatly appreciate that. Every dollar helps. You can get exclusive content on there, including our after hours unedited show, uncensored, unedited podcast that we do about once a month or so. We do a little uncensored, just kind of shoot from the hip, shoot the breeze type of podcast. And you can check that out with for just $1 a month on Patreon. Gives you access to that. Also, we have a donate tab, a support tab, I should say, on Anchor. If you don't necessarily agree with some of the politics or stuff that Patreon does, you can support us there. As for me, you can find me, of course, on Twitter at JohnMarkTully1, because I am, of course, the #1 John Mark Tully on Twitter. On Instagram at JohnTully3930, and on Facebook at Mark Tully. Also, check out the Facebook page, not only for this show, but for Realm of the Mist. And email us, if you want to email the show, you can email us at realmofthemistentertainment@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is, of course, Realm of the Mist Entertainment. And that's about it. Joe, since you're the new guy, we'll let you go next. Where can the people find you?
They can find me over on Facebook at Joe Cahill, Director Producer, or under Steamhouse Entertainment. You can find me under Steamhouse Entertainment on YouTube and also on Instagram and Twitter. So just check it out, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Of course, Chris. I called you the wrong person. Sorry, Ray. Ray. Where can people find your happy face?
Well, again, same as your shirt. Can't really see it. It's podcast. But I have a face for radio anyway. You can find me DMing and using my crazy character voices at Chronicles of the Lost Realm. It is a Realm of the Mist production. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram under the same name. Just type it into the search bar and it'll take you right there.
All right. And with that being said, we will see you next week here on War of the Stars, where we discuss the Sith. And as always, remember, this isn't just your Star Wars. This isn't just my Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time.
That's right.
May the Force be with you.